Man on the Moon, A Day in the Life of Bob by Simon Bartram. With sticky space stickers to stick on stuff. I may have used those already. Quite sure I did. Man on the Moon, A Day in the Life of Bob. This is Bob. Perhaps you've heard of him. You may know him better as the Man on the Moon. There he is. Look there. This is where Bob lives. Every morning he gets up at 6 o'clock. He has a cup of tea and 2 eggs for breakfast before leaving for the rocket launch pad. On the way, he stops to buy a newspaper and some chocolate candies. He's on his way to work on the moon. By 8 o'clock, Bob arrives at the launch pad. He changes into his special Man on the Moon suit and boards his fantastic rocket ship. He has to make sure he leaves by 8:45 or he won't make it to the moon by 9. On the way, he reads the newspaper and does the crossword puzzle. Bob starts work. His job as Man on the Moon is very important. He has to keep the moon clean and tidy. Quite often, astronauts drop candy wrappers and cans. Some people say that aliens are responsible for much of the trash. But Bob knows that's not true. There's no such thing as aliens. Look over there. By 12:30, it's time to eat. Bob goes to his rocket ship to get his lunchbox. Usually, he eats 2 sandwiches, either cheese or peanut butter, an apple, and some chocolate-covered nuts. Sometimes he meets his friends for a picnic. His 2 best friends are Billy, the man on Mars, and Sam, the man on Saturn. And they talk about the stars and tell jokes. Look, there's a hand. Oh, right there. After lunch, tourist spaceships start arriving from Earth. It's part of Bob's job to entertain the tourists and give them something to photograph. They seem to like somersaults, handstands, and especially high moon jumps. Sometimes Bob performs for as long as 2 hours and gets quite out of breath. Sometimes the tourist spaceship will land on the moon, and when they do, Bob gives the tourists a guided tour and a speech, and he tells them lots of facts, such as how many craters the moon has or how long it takes to walk around it on stilts. Sometimes people ask him about aliens, and Bob explains patiently that there aren't any. Afterward, Bob opens a small souvenir stand and he sells postcards, pens, and coffee mugs and small plastic moon models. By 4:30, all visitors must leave the moon. Bob looks around to see that everyone has left, and he checks inside the big craters in case someone has fallen in, but there's never anyone there. The working day is nearly over. It's time to check that everything is in order before leaving for the night. Bob packs his equipment and any unsold souvenirs into his rocket. He switches on the moon's nightlight before jetting off toward Earth. By this time, he's very tired, but he still has to keep his wits about him while flying the rocket. As he reaches Earth, it's about 5 o'clock. The rush hour is in full swing, with everyone leaving work and going home, just like Bob. Will you look at the crowd? Look at that one. When Bob gets home, first he has a long bath. Moon work can make you very grubby because sometimes the dust gets inside your suit. At last, Bob goes to bed with a mug of cocoa. He sleeps soundly, bathed in moonbeams, very happy to be the man on the moon. And aliens? Well, Bob would know if there were any. Wouldn't he? Oh man, I do have some super sticky moon space stickers left.